I am 85 years old and have studied pipelines for 58 years, specialising in corrosion control for over 50 years, with experience in 8 countries and ongoing collaboration with corrosion engineers and scientists in over 80 countries through my website. The link is below. I have produced a report relating to submarine pipeline failures that is based purely on data and information in the public domain in order to present scientific evidence without political or media bias. The Nord Stream pipelines were not damaged by seabed explosion, but by error or maybe intent. Please read my report in order to understand this view. The link will be shown. There is another pipeline from Norway to Poland that crosses Nord Stream pipelines and was commissioned sometime before the Russian special military operation started in Ukraine, but after Western Ukraine started shelling and bombing Eastern Ukraine that had declared independence. Before the Nord Stream pipeline failed, President Biden and his spokeswoman both said, "We have ways of stopping the Nord Stream pipeline." They did not specify how. It is unlikely that either of these two have scientific or technical knowledge of accelerated corrosion, as the US-based National Association of Corrosion Engineers does not understand accelerated corrosion or how it can be used to cause pipeline leaks. It is likely that they thought that these pipelines could be blown up by placing explosives in the sea on top of the pipeline. But the pipelines did not fail immediately after these statements, and it is likely that attempts were made to blow them up, but failed for the reasons detailed in my report. Meanwhile, the pipeline from Norway to Poland was probably subject to impressed current cathodic protection, and this would draw electrical charges from the sea. This would lower the electrical potential of the sea in that area to below the electrical potential of the bracelet anodes on the Nord Stream pipelines. This would dissolve the anodes and start dissolving the pipeline steel and causing the weakness that allowed the explosion of the pressurized gas in the pipeline. When a pipeline is shut down for a period, it is good practice to lower the pressure of the product inside and send a pipeline internal gauge, a PIG, down the line to gauge the wall thickness and remove any debris at sag bends. PIGs are moved by pressure from behind or reduced pressure in front. We know the planned working pressure and volume of the gas in the pipeline, but we do not know if a PIG was launched. If a PIG gets stuck at a weld, for example, the practice is to increase the pressure to dislodge it. So this, in this case, would be from the Russian end, increased pressure to push the PIG past the obstruction. Such overpressure would burst the pipeline from inside in the same way as I witnessed during tests by British Gas as noted in my report. The resulting release of gas would be greater than an explosive chemical and register on earthquake monitors. In support of this suggestion is the timing of all the political events does not fit with the actual explosion or the political agenda. It is possible to cause pipeline failures using stray current maliciously if you understand the science of corrosion control through cathodic protection. This can be achieved in a variety of ways by divers from a fairly small vessel and a small but expert crew. The mysterious diver's boot that was found on the seabed suggests that this was a distraction left to confuse the issue. My investigation changes the blame game that is going on at present, as it could have been the Ukrainians, the Russians, the Poles, the Norwegians, or any other parties who actually caused the failure either accidentally or on purpose. But whoever was responsible, it was definitely not the United States politicians and their agents, and it is unlikely to have been the UK, because both of these countries are under the influence of NACE, the National Association of Corrosion Engineers, that do not understand stray current interference corrosion. Protection system anode over there, it sends electrical charges into the whole of this dish. The charges flow from the anode to the cathode, and where they come onto the length of steel pipe, which is from here to here, and go onto the aluminium alloy capsule, which is here, you can see that here, and then from the capsule onto the steel pipe again, and then from the steel pipe here. I have also set 2 steel nails here and here. During the experiment you will see bubbles coming from the sacrificial anode, the impressed current anode at the end there, and you will see the bubbles coming from this end, this end of the steel pipe here, and they will be coming from the inside there and bubbling out around this area. Now this that you see here is the reflection of a light, a strip light, and this is on the surface. So you will see the bubbles bursting on the surface, but they have come from this point here, from this point here, from here the nail, from here the nail, and they are hydrogen bubbles resulting from the reaction from the crystalline structure of the steel itself, where hydrogen is released, causing hydrogen embrittlement, which is a separate study of the corrosion control process known as cathodic protection. The bubbles that come from the failure of the aluminium alloy capsule come from the inside of this pipe here, where the capsule is in contact with the steel, and you'll see the bubbles come through the pipe here and burst to the surface here, and you will see the bubbles travelling up in the similar way to the bubbles of gas that came from the North Sea pipeline to the surface of the Baltic Sea. I will now start the experiment, hopefully, and you will see the bubbles starting. These are hydrogen bubbles. Hydrogen bubbles coming from where I said, and from here, and bubbling up from here. Then in a minute you will see the explosion of the pipeline of the aluminium capsule, which represents the anode on the North Sea pipeline, the bracelet anode, which is made of aluminium. You watch in a second. There you are, and that is the explosion where the gas is escaping from the capsule, and it is travelling through the pipe and up here, and in the background you will hear me very happily laughing because my experiment has worked.